I never thought I'd be the kind of woman who kept secrets. But at 67 years old, standing in my daughter-in-law's designer kitchen while she handed me a legal document, I realized some truths are worth protecting until the right moment. Sign here, Margaret. Ashley tapped her French manicured nail on the paper. It's just a power of attorney. For your own protection. Behind her, my son Brian shifted his weight from foot to foot, his eyes fixed on the marble countertop. 39 years I'd raised that boy, and I could still read every tell. The way his jaw clenched, the way he wouldn't meet my gaze. He knew exactly what this was. My protection. I set down my coffee mug. From what? Ashley's smile didn't reach her eyes. Mom, you're living alone in that big house. What if something happens? What if you fall? What if someone takes advantage of you? She pushed the paper closer. Brian and I have been talking. It's time to be practical. Practical. That was Ashley's favorite word. It was practical when she convinced Brian to lease a BMW he couldn't afford. Practical when she enrolled my grandson Tyler in a $15,000 a year preschool. Practical when she started calling me Mom 3 weeks after the wedding. Even though my own name is Margaret and I'd spent 43 years being called Maggie by everyone who actually knew me. I'll think about it, I said. Ashley's expression hardened. There's nothing to think about. Unless you don't trust your own son? There it was. The weapon she wielded best. Not anger. Not demands. Just questions designed to make you feel small for hesitating. Brian finally spoke. Mom, it would give us peace of mind. Us. Not him. Us. When had my son started speaking in plural? I folded the paper and tucked it in my purse. I said I'll think about it. The temperature in that kitchen dropped 20 degrees. Ashley's smile vanished completely. Fine, but we need an answer by Sunday. We're having a family meeting. Everyone will be there. Everyone. That would be Ashley's parents, her sister Brittany, and her brother Kyle. A jury of her choosing. I drove home in my 12-year-old Honda Civic, the one Ashley once called a safety hazard in front of the whole family. My house sat at the end of Maple Street, a 3-bedroom ranch I'd bought in 1983 for $42,000. I'd scraped wallpaper in this house. I'd replaced the roof. I'd planted every azalea in the front yard. I'd also paid off the mortgage in 1998. But Ashley didn't know that. Brian didn't know that either. He thought I was still making payments. Still living house poor, as he'd once called it. I'd never corrected him. I'd also never told them about the money. When my husband Robert died 9 years ago, the life insurance paid out $150,000. A decent amount. Enough to cover the funeral and give me a buffer. That's what everyone assumed I'd used it for. What they didn't know was that Robert had 2 life insurance policies. The second one, a policy he'd taken out through his union at the electrical plant, paid out $350,000. Tax-free. I'd put it in a money market account and never touched it. Not once. I lived on my pension from the school district, where I'd worked as a secretary for 33 years. $1,500 a month, plus Social Security. I clipped coupons. I bought store brands. I kept my thermostat at 68 in winter. Not because I had to. Because I wanted to see what people did when they thought I had nothing. Sunday arrived with dark clouds and the threat of rain. I parked in front of Brian and Ashley's house, a 4-bedroom colonial they'd bought 2 years ago. I knew they were stretching themselves thin. Brian worked in middle management at a logistics company, pulling in maybe $70,000 a year. Ashley didn't work. She managed the household and spent most of her time on social media, posting photos of Tyler at various enrichment activities. The house smelled like vanilla candles and expensive cleaning products. Ashley had set up the dining room like a boardroom. Her parents, Richard and Linda, sat on one side. Her siblings flanked them. Brian sat at the head of the table. The only empty chair was at the opposite end. The defendant's seat. Maggie. So glad you could make it. Ashley's voice dripped with false warmth. She never called me Maggie. She was making a point. Can I get you anything? Water? Tea? I'm fine. Please, sit. She gestured to the empty chair. I sat. 7 pairs of eyes stared at me. Only Tyler, playing with trucks in the corner, seemed unaware of the ambush. Ashley remained standing. So, we're all here because we care about Margaret. And we're concerned. Concerned about what? I kept my voice level. Richard leaned forward. He ran a car dealership in the next county. Everything about him was expensive and slightly too loud. Ashley tells us you're having trouble managing your finances. I'm not having any trouble. Really? Ashley walked to a folder on the sideboard. She pulled out papers. My bank statements. Because according to these, you're living paycheck to paycheck. Your checking account never has more than $2,000. You've taken money out of savings 3 times this year. My heart rate didn't change. I'd expected this. Ashley had been asking to help organize my paperwork for 6 months. I'd let her photocopy some documents last month. When she offered to file my taxes, I'd given her access to one account. The decoy account. Those are my business. They're concerning. Ashley looked around the table. My parents have offered to help. We want to set up a trust. Move your assets into a protected vehicle. Make sure you're taken care of. What assets? I asked. Brittany spoke up. She was a dental hygienist, married to a dental supply salesman. Ashley's flying monkey. Your house, Maggie. You've been there forever. It must be worth, what, $300,000 in this market? Close to $350, Kyle added. He worked in real estate. Of course he did. Right. Ashley reclaimed the floor. So here's what we're proposing. We sell the house. Put you in a nice assisted living community. 1 level, no maintenance. Built-in social activities. The equity from the house goes into a trust that we manage. You get a monthly allowance, and anything left over is protected for Tyler's future. The room went silent. Rain started pattering against the windows. Assisted living, I repeated. I'm 67. And you're alone, Linda said gently. She probably thought she was being kind. What if you fall? What if something happens? Don't you want peace of mind? I have peace of mind. Mom. Brian spoke for the first time. His voice was strained. We're trying to help. By selling my house and putting me in a home? It's not a home, Ashley corrected. It's a community. I've already looked at a few. There's a beautiful place in Riverside, very affordable, $2,000 a month, all inclusive. $2,000 a month. That would eat through the house equity in 14 years. If I lived to 81, I'd have nothing left. And Tyler would be 21. College age. How convenient. What if I say no? Ashley's expression hardened. Then we'd have to pursue other options. What options? She glanced at her father. Richard pulled out another document. We'd petition for guardianship, based on your inability to manage your financial affairs. My blood ran cold, not from fear, from rage. You can't do that. We can if we have evidence of financial incompetence. Richard's voice was matter-of-fact. He'd done this before, probably to elderly customers on his car lot. Look, Maggie, we don't want to go that route. That's why we're asking you to cooperate. Sign the power of attorney. Let us help you. Make this easy. I looked at my son, really looked at him. Brian, is this what you want? He couldn't hold my gaze. I want you to be safe. That's not what I asked. Margaret, Ashley's voice sharpened. We need an answer. Today, are you going to sign the POA or not? The rain came harder now, drumming on the roof. Tyler had stopped playing and was watching us with wide eyes. 4 years old, and he was already learning what power looked like. I opened my purse. Slowly. I pulled out the power of attorney document Ashley had given me 3 days ago. I brought this back, I said. I did think about it. Ashley's face lit up with triumph. Wonderful. There's a notary down the street. We can. I tore the paper in half. Then in half again. And again. The pieces fluttered onto the expensive dining table like snow. No, I said. The room erupted. Ashley's face went scarlet. Richard half stood from his chair. Linda gasped. Brittany and Kyle exchanged glances. Only Brian sat frozen, his face pale. You're making a terrible mistake, Ashley hissed. Am I? I stood up. Let me tell you what I think is a terrible mistake. You going through my personal documents without permission. You inviting your entire family to bully me into signing away my rights. You threatening me with guardianship in front of my grandson. We're trying to protect you. From what? From whom? I looked at each of them in turn. I'm not incompetent. I'm not confused. I'm not failing. I pay my bills on time. I maintain my house. I drive. I volunteer at the library every Thursday. I take a water aerobics class on Mondays and Wednesdays. My doctor says I'm in excellent health for my age. But your bank account Brittany started shows exactly what I wanted to show. I let that hang in the air for a moment. Did you really think someone who worked in school administration for 33 years doesn't understand how to manage paperwork? How to keep private things private? Ashley's eyes narrowed. What are you saying? I'm saying that account you saw represents 1 month of expenses. That's the account I use for bills and groceries, nothing more. So, you have other accounts. Richard leaned back, trying to reclaim the upper hand. That doesn't change anything. You're still alone, still vulnerable. I have a financial advisor, I interrupted. At Mitchell and Groves. I've worked with them for 9 years. Would you like his number? His name is David Chen. He manages my portfolio. The word portfolio hit the room like a grenade. Brian found his voice. What portfolio? I'd waited 9 years for this moment. I'd imagined it differently. Maybe over coffee. Just the two of us. When Brian was ready to hear it. When he'd grown into the man I'd raised him to be. Not the shell Ashley had turned him into. But this would have to do. Robert's life insurance, I said simply. The union policy. $350,000. I invested it. David's done well with it. Very well. The silence was absolute. Even Tyler had gone quiet. How much? Ashley's voice was barely a whisper. Currently, the portfolio is valued at just under $640,000. I watched Ashley's face go through 5 emotions in 3 seconds. Shock, disbelief, calculation, rage, and finally, something worse. Hunger. That's... Linda started, then stopped. That's mine, I finished. And it will stay mine. I'll spend it on myself if I choose. I'll give it to charity if I choose. I'll leave it to Brian if I choose. But what I won't do is let any of you intimidate me into giving up my home, my independence, or my right to make my own decisions. Richard recovered first. He was a salesman, after all. Margaret, I think there's been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding. You tried to bully an elderly woman into giving up her assets. You used fear. You used my love for my son. You weaponized family. I picked up my purse. I came here in good faith. I wanted to believe this was about concern. But it's not. It's about control. And money. That's not fair, Ashley snapped. We've spent so much on Tyler's education, on this house, on choices you made. I cut her off. Brian makes a good salary. You live beyond your means. That's not my problem to solve. And it's certainly not my problem to solve by giving up my home. I walked toward the door. Brian finally moved. Mom, wait. I turned. For a moment, I saw my little boy again. The one who'd crawled into my bed during thunderstorms. The one who'd cried when he broke his arm falling off his bike. The one who'd told me at 8 years old that he wanted to be just like his dad when he grew up. I love you, I said. I will always love you. But if you choose to pursue guardianship, if you choose to try to take my home or my rights, I will fight you. And I will win. Because unlike what you've been led to believe, I am not weak. I am not helpless. And I am not anyone's cash cow. Ashley shot to her feet. You selfish. Careful, I warned. Whatever you're about to call me will be the last thing you say before I walk out that door and you never see me again. Choose wisely. She closed her mouth, her fists clenched at her sides. I looked at Brian one more time. When you're ready to talk. Really talk. Just you and me. My door is open, but I will not be ambushed again. I will not be disrespected in front of an audience, and I will not let you make decisions about my life without my consent. I left. The rain had turned into a downpour. I was soaked by the time I reached my car. I didn't care. I sat in the driveway for a full minute, hands shaking on the steering wheel. Not from fear. From adrenaline. From the weight of finally saying what I'd needed to say for 2 years. Ever since Ashley had started making comments about old people and being practical and planning ahead. My phone rang before I made it home. Brian. I let it go to voicemail. He called again. Voicemail. Then a text. Mom, please, can we talk? I pulled into my driveway. My little ranch house with its azaleas and paid-off mortgage and roof. I'd replaced myself with the help of Robert's brother Tom. I texted back, not tonight, maybe this week. Just you. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Okay. I'm sorry. I went inside, made myself tea, sat in Robert's old recliner and watched the rain through the window. My phone buzzed again. Not Brian this time. A number I didn't recognize. Mrs. Foster? This is David Chen. I have you flagged for unusual account activity monitoring. Are you aware that someone has been making inquiries about your accounts? My stomach dropped. What kind of inquiries? Someone called our office yesterday, claiming to be you, said they'd lost their account information and needed a full portfolio statement sent to a new address. We flagged it as potential fraud, but I wanted to confirm with you directly. What address did they give? He rattled off Brian and Ashley's street. My son's house. That was not me, I said, and that person does not have authorization to access my accounts. Understood. I've made a note in your file. Will require additional verification for any future requests. Have you considered setting up 2-factor authentication? We spent 10 minutes updating my security settings. After I hung up, I sat very still. Ashley hadn't been fishing. She'd been actively trying to access my accounts. This wasn't about concern. This was about money. Pure and simple. The rain stopped around 8. My phone rang. Brian again. This time I answered. Hello, Mom. His voice cracked. I'm so sorry. I didn't know she was going to do all that. I thought we were just going to talk. Were you there when she set up the meeting? Silence. Brian, were you there? Yes, he whispered. But I didn't know her parents were coming, or that they'd have all those documents ready. I swear, I thought it was just dinner. Did you know she tried to access my financial accounts? More silence. Then, what? Yesterday, someone called my financial advisor pretending to be me, asked for statements to be sent to your address. No. He sounded genuinely shocked. No, I didn't know that. Mom, I swear, I want to believe you. But Brian, you've let her speak for you. You've let her make decisions. You've stood there while she disrespected me again and again. At some point, silence is agreement. I heard him crying. My 40-year-old son. Crying. I don't know what to do. Yes, you do. You just don't want to do it. She's my wife. Tyler's mother. And I'm your mother, who raised you alone after your father died, who worked double shifts to pay for your college, who helped with your down payment on your first house, who babysat Tyler every Friday for 2 years until Ashley decided I was undermining her parenting style. I know all of that. Then act like it. Stand up, not just to Ashley. For yourself. For the life you actually want, instead of the life you've been performing for her Instagram followers. He was quiet for a long time. Rain started again, lighter this time. Can I come over tomorrow? Just me? Yes. Does the offer for coffee still stand? Like we used to? I closed my eyes. Every Sunday morning for 15 years, Brian and I had coffee together. My kitchen, 7 a.m., before the world woke up. It stopped when he married Ashley. She didn't like him leaving the house early on weekends. It never stopped standing, I said. He arrived at 6:55 the next morning. He looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes. Wrinkled shirt. He'd either not slept or not gone home. I poured coffee. Black for him, cream for me. We sat at my kitchen table, the same one Robert built in 1985. I'm not going to ask you to leave her, I said. That's not my place. I don't want to leave her. He wrapped his hands around the mug. I love her. But I don't know when it changed. When I changed. When we became these people. When did you stop making your own decisions? He flinched. It's not that simple, isn't it? Name one major choice you've made in the last 3 years that wasn't Ashley's idea first. He opened his mouth. Closed it. Tried again. Nothing came out. The house? I prompted. Ashley picked it. The car? Ashley wanted the BMW. Tyler's school? Ashley chose it. Your job? You were happy at your old company. Then Ashley said you weren't making enough. So you took a job you hate for $20,000 more a year. Stop. Why? Because it's true? Or because you don't want to hear it? Because I know. He slammed the mug down. Coffee sloshed over the rim. I know, okay? I know I'm weak. I know I let her run everything. I know I should stand up for you, for myself, for his voice broke. I know my dad would be ashamed of me. Your dad would love you no matter what. Just like I do. But he'd also tell you the same thing I'm telling you. You're not weak. You're scared. There's a difference. Scared of what? Of her leaving, taking Tyler, of starting over, of admitting you made a mistake marrying someone who needs to control everything because she's terrified of her own inadequacy. Brian stared at me. When did you figure all that out? The third time I met her. She told a story about her high school volleyball team. She was the captain, and they lost the championship. She blamed everyone on the team by name, went through each girl's mistakes, never mentioned her own. That's when I knew. Why didn't you say something? Would you have listened? He laughed bitterly. No. I was in love. She was beautiful and confident, and she chose me. Awkward Brian Foster from Michigan. And this gorgeous woman wanted to marry me. You're not awkward. You're kind. There's a difference. We sat in silence. The kitchen brightened as the sun came up. Through the window, I could see my neighbor Helen leaving for her morning walk. She waved. I waved back. What's in the portfolio? Brian finally asked. The $640,000. How did you grow it that much? Index funds mostly. Some bonds. David recommended a balanced approach. I didn't need the money, so I let it sit. Compound interest did the rest. You could have lived better, traveled, bought a new car. I live exactly how I want to live. This house is paid off. I have everything I need. Why would I spend money I don't need to spend? Ashley would die if she lived like this. Ashley is going to bankrupt you if you're not careful. That house payment, the car lease, Tyler's school, how much are you spending a month? He told me. My heart sank. They were $6,000 a month in the hole. Every month. Building credit card debt to cover the gap. Brian. You're going to lose everything. I know. That's why. He stopped. His face crumpled. That's why she wanted your money. She needs it. We need it. The credit cards are maxed. We're 3 months behind on the house payment. The car lease is up in 6 months, and we can't afford to buy it out. She thought if we could get your house, sell it, we could pay everything off and start over. By putting me in assisted living, she said you'd be happier there, less stress. I wanted to believe her. Do you still believe her? No. He met my eyes. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have protected you. You're my mother. You're the only parent I have left. And I let her treat you like an asset to be managed. He nodded, crying now. I reached across the table, took his hand. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to go home. You're going to tell Ashley that you will not be pursuing any legal action against me, that my finances are off limits, that I make my own decisions about my life. She'll go crazy. Let her. You're also going to make an appointment with a financial counselor. Not one Ashley picks. One you find. You're going to look at your real situation, and you're going to make hard choices. Like what? Like pulling Tyler out of that school and enrolling him in public school. Like selling the BMW and buying a Honda. Like Ashley getting a job. Real, hard choices that people have to make when they live beyond their means. She'll say I'm not providing for my family. You're going into debt to maintain an image. That's not providing. That's performing. There's a difference. He wiped his face with his sleeve. What if she leaves? Then she leaves. And you and Tyler will be better off without someone who values image over reality. But Brian, you need to be willing to make that choice. You need to decide if you want a partner or a dictator. We talked for another hour. I didn't solve his problems. I couldn't. But I gave him something maybe more valuable. Permission to stop pretending. Permission to want a different life. He left at 9. Hugged me hard in the driveway. I love you, Mom. I love you too. Call me this week? I will. 3 days later, my phone rang at 11 p.m. Ashley. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Margaret. Her voice was different. Smaller. Can we talk? I'm listening. Brian told me what you said. About the financial counselor. About making changes. About. She paused. About me getting a job. And I'm angry. I didn't ruin anything. I just refused to be your solution. Same thing. No. It's not. She was quiet for a long time. I heard Tyler in the background, asking for water. Heard her tell him to wait. When she came back, her voice was different again. Shaking. I don't know how to live small, she whispered. I don't know how to be ordinary. Nobody's ordinary, but nobody's special just because they spend money they don't have either. My parents had money. Growing up, we had everything. Big house, nice cars, vacations. When they lost it in the recession, when we had to move to a smaller house, when I had to share a room with my sister, I swore I'd never live like that again. Never feel that shame again. So you recreated the same life. And the same debt. Yes, Ashley. Living within your means isn't shame, it's wisdom. What you're teaching Tyler right now is that image matters more than reality. That debt is normal, that you should lie and perform and pretend to be something you're not. Is that really what you want? Silence. Then, very quietly, no. Then stop. You're young. You're smart. You can fix this. But not by taking from me, by building something real with Brian. Something sustainable. I don't know if I can. Yes, you do. You just don't want to. Because it means admitting you were wrong. Admitting you've been living a lie. And that's hard. But you know what's harder? Losing everything because you were too proud to change. I wanted your money, she said. I actually thought we could get it. I thought Brian would side with me. That we could convince you or force you or, God. I'm a terrible person. You're a scared person. There's a difference. Terrible people don't call at 11 p.m. to admit they're wrong. She laughed. It sounded painful. Brian wants to sell the house. Move into something smaller. He showed me apartments. Apartments, Margaret. I haven't lived in an apartment since college. Neither had I, until Robert and I saved enough for a down payment. It took us 6 years. We lived in a one-bedroom apartment with paper-thin walls and no dishwasher. We were happy. Were you really? We were building something. Together. That made us happy. The house came later. After we'd built the foundation, another long pause. I don't know if I can do this. Only you can answer that. But Ashley, if you decide you can't, if you decide you'd rather leave than live smaller, then you need to be honest with Brian. Give him the choice. Don't string him along while you resent him for not making enough money to fund a lifestyle nobody can actually afford. That's fair. Do you love him? Really love him? Or do you love what he represents? She stopped, started again. I don't know anymore. I don't know if I ever did. At least she was honest. Then figure it out, I said. But do it away from my son's money. Away from my money. Away from anyone's money. Figure out who you are. When you strip away the house and the car and the Instagram posts. Because that's who you're going to be when you're 67 and the shine has worn off and you're sitting alone in a house you may or may not have, wondering if you built anything real. She hung up without saying goodbye. Brian called the next morning. Ashley told me she'd talk to you. She did. What did you say to her? Things she needed to hear. How is she? Packing. She's going to stay with her parents for a while. To think. And Tyler? With her. I didn't fight it. Is that wrong? No, it's honest. You both need time to figure out what you want. She might not come back. I know. I'm scared, Mom. I know that too. But Brian, you can't build a life with someone who needs you to be something you're not. Who needs you to spend money you don't have to prove something to people who don't matter. You can only build a life with someone who wants to build with you. Not someone who wants you to build for them. When did you get so wise? I'm not wise. I'm just old enough to have learned the expensive lessons, and I love you enough to hope you learn them cheaper than I did. The months that followed weren't easy. Ashley didn't come back. The divorce was civil but sad. Brian sold the house, paid off the debts, and moved into a 2-bedroom apartment near his office. Tyler adjusted better than anyone expected. He went to public school and joined the soccer team and stopped asking why they didn't have the big house anymore. Brian changed too. Slowly. He started cooking again. Something he'd loved in college. He joined a softball league. He called me every Sunday morning, and sometimes he'd drive over with Tyler and we'd have pancakes in my little kitchen. One Sunday, about a year after everything fell apart, Brian showed up with a woman. Her name was Claire. She was a middle school teacher. She drove a Subaru with a dent in the back bumper. She laughed at Tyler's knock-knock jokes. She complimented my azaleas. After breakfast, while Tyler played in the yard, Claire helped me wash dishes. Brian talks about you a lot, she said. He says you saved his life. I just reminded him. He was allowed to have one. She smiled. He told me about the money, about what you did. That took courage. It took stubbornness. There's a difference. Is there? She handed me a plate to dry. I think courage is just stubbornness with good timing. I laughed. I liked her. Can I ask you something? Claire said. And you can tell me it's none of my business. Go ahead. The money. The portfolio. Are you ever going to spend it? I looked out the window at Brian and Tyler throwing a football. At my azaleas blooming pink and white, at my little house with its paid-off mortgage and 37 years of memories. I'm spending it right now, I said. On peace, on independence, on knowing that nobody can take this from me. On being able to say no when I need to, on having enough that I can help when I want to, not because I have to. That's worth more than any vacation or new car. But what about when you're older? When you need care? That's what the money is for. I'm not hoarding it. I'm preserving options. So if I do need assisted living someday, I can choose where I go. So if I need home care, I can hire it. So if Brian needs help with Tyler's college, I can give it, without anyone else having a say in how I spend my own money. Claire nodded slowly. You know what Ashley used to say about you? I can imagine. She said you were stingy, that you lived like you were poor when you weren't, that it was unfair to Brian, that you could help them but chose not to. And what do you think? I think you understood something Ashley never did. That money is power. And you weren't willing to give your power away to someone who'd use it to control you. Smart woman. Brian had chosen well this time. 2 years later, I'm 69. Brian and Claire got married last spring. Small ceremony, backyard wedding, potluck reception. It was perfect. Tyler was the ring bearer and cried happy tears when his dad kissed his new stepmom. Ashley sent a card. Nothing else. She'd remarried too, to a lawyer from her dad's firm. According to Brian, she seemed happy. He hoped she was. So did I. The portfolio is worth just over $700,000 now. David says I should start thinking about estate planning, drawing up a will, making decisions about end-of-life care. I'm not ready for that yet. But I'm also not afraid of it, because I know that whatever happens, however much time I have left, I'll spend it on my own terms, in my own house, making my own choices. Nobody can take that from me. Not Ashley, not fear, not age. That's what the money bought me. Not things. Freedom. And freedom, I've learned, is worth every penny I didn't spend along the way.